It's a very unique time. And first of all, I appreciated and was honored to hear from so many organizations and leaders in our community who are asking the city to take this very important step. And of course, I've been involved. I'm not, it's not I'm not playing any kind of a game here. I've been a partner with them on this. This is a very unique time in Sacramento and in our country. And what has crystallized for me, especially since the killing of George Floyd, is that the mayor of the city is accountable. And the people are making great demands and rightful demands for change around public safety reform, around ensuring that we're able to invest in our communities, especially our disadvantaged communities, around the issues of homelessness. And frankly, under this system, the citywide elected official who is most accountable, the mayor, does not have the tools to be able to lead in a way that I believe meets the demands of the moment and the demands of the people. And so, first of all, while most of the focus is on the structural changes, I think it's very important to note that there are key reforms embedded within this proposal. Number one, that all decisions we make going forward must be analyzed with a racial and gender equity lens, because we must ask the question, how does this budget decision affect our communities who have for too long been disenfranchised? The measure includes a requirement that we engage the public much more in what we call participatory budgeting. And the measure includes a requirement that we invest at least $40 million a year in inclusive economic development and youth, consistent with the promise that we made and I made when we passed Measure U in 2018. Those are the most important pieces to me. The structural reform would enable any mayor to be able to lead with the mandate of the people, because it's the people who elect the mayor, towards meeting all of those objectives in a much more effective way. And so I think it's an important time to have a debate about whether or not the structure of the city and its city government is keeping up with the demands for progress that the people are making. And so part of the role of a leader, you put it out there and let the great debate begin.
And I realize that this comes with a laundry list of things. This isn't just one small change.
No.
So what can you tell us about, I mean, maybe generally speaking, without sitting on this call for a full hour, but what exactly can you say about what this will do? What will people see?
First of all, what they will see is, I think, a city government that is more nimble, that is more responsive, that can move faster to solve the problems. It is not, I know that they call it strong mayor, but it really isn't. It has significant provisions that actually give the city council more power. Exclusive authority over land use decisions, which the mayor now is involved in and wouldn't be involved in. Exclusive authority dealing with our housing authority, which the mayor is currently involved in and doesn't and wouldn't be involved in. An ability to override a mayoral decision to say that this budget doesn't go in the direction that the people are asking. And so there are a lot of checks here. It's about accountability. And here's the truth. The people who put their names on the ballot do not and should never have too much power. But they are also the people who are accountable to the voters, and frankly, the only people that are directly accountable to the voters. And what this charter amendment asks is whether or not the responsibility should be matched with the accountability, so that what people are asking for have a better chance of being achieved in a faster period of time.
And going off of what you said about power, I'm wondering, does this put too much power into the office of the mayor, or how will this help balance things out?
Not at all. Right now, the city manager is arguably the most unelected person. And by the way, we have a great city manager. But the city manager, who is unelected, has the power to introduce the budget, and has the power to really shape the major decisions, has all of the power to appoint the city department heads, which would not change under my proposal. But the manager arguably has significantly more power than the elected mayor of the city. And so by making the mayor the chief executive, with real checks, the city council having enhanced powers themselves, the city council electing its own president and vice president of the council, the city council being the only entity that can pass the budget. The mayor cannot sign a budget unless the council passes it. And then the ability to overturn or override the mayor's decision. It is, I think, a good balance. It's just more nimble. And there's more ability, I think, to move in the way that people are asking, because it is the mayor and the city council that are accountable to the people.
And I'm wondering, I know this is a question that came up in that press conference earlier today, but why did this fail before? And why do you think that this is now the right time to pass it through?
Well, before we, entered into this conversation with our community partners, and before today's announcement, we did some of our own political research, our own public opinion polling, and what the voters say after hearing both sides is that they would pass this. Now, that doesn't mean that it will pass, but it does mean that the voters are open to it. And I think what is different is that the times are different. Look, we are in the midst of a pandemic. We are in the midst of the most significant discussion about race and equity that we have had in a generation. And so while the city is not broken and the city government is not broken, people are demanding that their leaders be accountable, their elected leaders, and that we move faster and even more purposefully towards achieving the things that are going to make life better for the people of Sacramento. And that's what I think is different. Some might say, well, okay, 2 weeks to decide whether to put it on the ballot. I would argue that this is actually the most appropriate time because of what is happening in our society now, what's happening in our city with both the pandemic and with George Floyd. People want accountable leadership. The mayor and the city council, but especially the mayor, has to be accountable and has to have the tools to go with them.
And so with that being said, knowing that this is going to be up to the council to vote to put this on the ballot, is there enough support for this to pass right now?
I think so, but we will see. I mean, we're not going to vote on the 28th of July. That's important. We're going to have a council discussion and then put off a vote until the 4th of August. And so I think the 28th will be important to sort of get the direction of the city council, their input. They may have suggested changes. The public may have suggested changes. The community leadership that I think, again, was very powerful today will come forward and ensure that their voice is heard again. And this is what democracy is all about. This is healthy. These are the kinds of things we want to debate. And it's all about accountability and it's all about effectiveness. And I think the time is right.
Absolutely. And, I did talk a little bit more in depth with Keyshawn, the young man, the 19-year-old man from South Sacramento. I think you're familiar with him as well. He said he worked on a project with you over the summer last year, I think.
Yeah.
And he sent me some photos from that. I talked with them a little bit after the meeting, and they were like, maybe ask Mayor Steinberg, with the $40 million that is a part of this initiative. Can you speak a little bit on that and maybe how maybe being more specific on making sure that that is something that will be invested in youth and where
Yes.
that money is actually going to go.
So here was the promise that I made as the mayor of this city in 2018 when the voters extended the sales tax Measure U from 1/2 cent to 1 cent. I said, I want to add to the city's core priorities, in addition to public safety, which always comes first, investing in our neighborhoods, investing in what we call inclusive economic development, affordable housing, workforce development, small business development, and a whole host of other things that will improve the economic stature and the quality of life of communities and people who for too long have been left behind. So we passed that, and then it was a general tax. And we've had this debate now over the course of almost 2 years about, okay, what does that mean? Does the money really go there? Is there really money to do that, especially after COVID? And I believe, as I asked the voters to look at changing the structure of the city, that it is really important that I, as the mayor, and that we as a city, first uphold that promise that we made, that we were going to invest as much of that second 1/2 cent as possible, and I think $40 million is a good number, in our communities. And so the categories are clear. It's workforce development, it's youth enrichment, it is small business development, it is affordable housing. But part of why we're calling for participatory budgeting is we want the public to have more of a voice in how those dollars are to be spent. And I just want to make sure that we make that commitment to spend at least that amount of money on what people relied upon when they voted for Measure U in 2018.
And with that being said, moving forward, are you able to speak on what the ethics committee will do? It sounds like that could be a permanent committee. We would see.
Yes. Well,
within.
The city council passed, put into law the ethics commission back in 2017 when I first became mayor. It might have even been late 2016, but it's not in the city charter. So what this does is ensure that it become a permanent part of the city's commitment to integrity and ethics.
And just one more quick thing for you, this whole initiative is centered around mayor accountability, and that's a lot to take on. It sounds like this is a lot on your shoulders. Mayor accountability, making sure that you are doing your job and making sure our city is, running to the best of its ability.
Yeah. Well,
are you nervous about that?
Well, not nervous. I look forward to the discussion, debate, and hopefully the change, because here's what is really at issue and somewhat frustrating to me. I had a good first term. I got reelected with almost 80% of the vote. Nothing is broken here. I just think it can be better. And here is the essence of it. As I said, since the George Floyd killing, I've always known it, but now I know it more than ever, is that the mayor of this city is accountable. The people expect the mayor to deliver. And yet under the system, the mayor is one of 9 votes. The mayor does not have any executive authority. It's a city manager run form of government, and we have a great city manager. But it is different than a mayor elected by the people being able to drive the agenda that people elected him or her to drive and that the people are asking for.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to add that you think we may have missed?
I don't think so. Mary Lynn, is there anything else?
You're good. I think you've covered it all. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, August 4th, that's going to be the last day council can vote on this.
Yeah.
Before we
That
see it on.
is the county registrar's deadline, so that would be the last day. But we're not voting on the 28th. I think that's important. It's just going to be for discussion.
But this is a super, super quick turnaround. This is a very, very fast turnaround. Why is it? Why is this being pushed through so quickly?
Again, first of all, some of these issues are not new. These have been discussed in the community for a long time. The reform issues, of course, are of the moment. I mean, this is what people are talking about what people are asking for. And so I believe that even though it is several weeks as opposed to several months, that it is exactly the right time because of what's happening in our community, what's happening in our country.